Welcome to SOMA Academy. I'm Siad Malim, and in this video I'm going to discuss the measures of a spread, and in particular show you how to find the range, variance, and the standard deviation of a dataset. Let me start with the definition of measures of a spread. A measure of spread describes how similar or varied a dataset is. Measures of spread include variance, standard deviation, range, quartiles, and interquartile range. However, in today's video, I will only focus on how to find the range, variance, and standard deviation of a dataset. In order to find the variance of a dataset, we have to first find the mean of that dataset. If you have not watched my video on finding the mean of a dataset, I will link it in the description below. Let's say we have a dataset of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And we want to find the range, the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation of this dataset. I will start with the range. Range, by definition, is equal to the maximum value in the dataset minus the minimum value in the dataset. Okay? So what you have to do if you have to find the range of any dataset, you find the maximum value in the dataset, and you also find the minimum, and you take the difference of that two, which will give you the range of that dataset. Okay, in this dataset here, the maximum value is 12. The minimum value in the dataset is 2. So the range of this dataset is simply 10. Sometimes it's possible that the data is not in order, like the one given here. So what you have to do is to easily identify the maximum and the minimum value. I will highly encourage you to put the data in ascending order or descending order, whichever you prefer. Then identify the minimum and also the maximum. So the range will always be the maximum value minus the minimum value. So the next step is we have to find the mean of this dataset. The mean of this dataset here. So mean, as previously explained in another video, which I will link in the description here, is sum of all the dataset divided by the number of values, total number of values in that dataset. So what this means is that I have to add up 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12 divided by the number of values in this dataset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6. So what do I get when I add this? So when you add these numbers, what you get is 42. 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. Therefore, the mean of this dataset is 7. We normally write mean as x bar is equal to 7. We found the mean of this dataset, which we said we will denote it as x bar, is equal to 7. So in order to find the variance, our next step is to find the variance of this dataset. Okay, what I normally do is, first of all, I write the x values. These are my dataset. Make a table, and then I'll also put the variables minus x bar, which is the mean, and then x minus x bar, which is the mean, squared as another value. Okay, so we have the first value as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. These are our data set. What we have to do is we have to find that variable, which in this case is 2 minus x bar, which is the mean. So that is 2 minus 7. Okay, let me give myself enough space here. I'll rewrite this again. X minus x bar squared. Okay, so the first one is 2 minus 7. That will have negative 5 is the answer here. So the next one is 4 minus 7, which is equal to minus 3. The next one is 6 minus 7, which is equal to minus 1. The next one is 8. So 8 minus 7 is positive 1. 10 minus 7 is 3. The last one is 12 minus 7, which is equal to 5. Okay, so in the third column, we just have to square these values here, these values. Okay, because that is what it means. Whenever you subtract those two, you square it. So minus 5 squared is 25. Minus 3 squared is 9. Minus 1 squared is just 1. 1 squared here is 1. 3 squared is 9. 5 squared is also 25. Okay? So, in order to find the variance, this is actually the variance you have to add up. So, what is the total here? When I add up these numbers, okay? 25 plus 9 plus 1, that is 35, because this is 10, 25. So this is also 25 plus 9 plus 10, that's another 35. So the total is 70. Okay, so my variance, which is normally denoted as variance is summation, that is the Greek letter for summing, x minus x bar squared was equal to 70. That's what we found. Okay, so that is the variance of this data set. Okay, let us move to the next question, which is finding the standard deviation of the data set. So in order to find this, here is just the same data set. Okay, I've just written it again. Okay, so we found our variance, which we said we will denote it as summation x minus x bar squared was equal to 70. In order to find the standard deviation, two things to consider. First, if this data set here is a sample of the population, if this is a sample of the population, then the standard deviation, which is denoted as S, is equal to the square root of the summation of x minus x bar, which squared, divided by n, which is the number of values, minus 1. So that's just the general formula. If this is a sample of the population, so what we found was the summation, which is, this is basically the variance, which was 70 divided by n. N is 6 because there are 6 values in this data set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 minus 1. So this will give me 70 divided by 5 square rooted. So what will that give me? So when you divide these two, you get 14, but the square root of 14 is 3.74 if I round it to the nearest two decimal places. Okay, so just to recap, this will be the variance. If you got your variance as 70, if this data set is a sample of the population, then you divide the variance by n minus 1. N is 6, minus 1 is 5. Then you take the square root of that to get the standard deviation of the sample. Okay, the other thing to consider is if this data set here is the entire population. In that case, the standard deviation, which is denoted as sigma like that, is equal to 70 divided by the square root of 70 divided by n. In this case, just notice that we are not subtracting minus 1. It's just 70 divided by n. So 70 divided by n, which is 60, square rooted, will give me. So when you divide 70 by 6, this will give me, let me just use a different pen here to illustrate the difference. This will give me 11.67. So the square root of that is equal to 3.42. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I will stop it there for today. Please do not forget to subscribe. Until then, happy learning.